Alright, hello world, we're back again, the PodLayer team. Today we're going to be doing some more Track 2 voicing leveling up, where we go over the fundamental principles of PodLayer theory, breaking down in nice chunks we call beats, making sure that we understand all of them, because since we want to be able to express the theory well, we'll make sure that, unlike some people with other theories, that we do know the fundamentals of what we're talking about and how they all match up. Okay, we'll be doing NIG fundamentals, getting Mitchell and Glenn here caught up before we move on to more stuff later on. Okay, so I am NIG Coach, and with me I have NIG Mitchell, NIG Glenn, and the NIG is what we are. So we'll talk about ourselves here a little bit. Okay, so today we'll be doing NIG Social Alchemy and NIG, what is the other one we're doing? Social Alchemy and is it Life Partners? Life Partners.
Life Partners.
So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll let you take lead first. Mitchell?
Okay.
Some of the stuff will seem a bit repetitive only because we have done the Nijai version already, and these sections we're doing are quite mathematical. So, all right. In chat, what is social alchemy in simple terms? How does social alchemy relate to all Mojo designs?
All right, social alchemy is the energetic interplay between two or more mojos. Each mojo is a member of a variety of groupings that that help teach more about oneself and how to interact with others. Social alchemy is a vital part of any true seeker's heroic toolkit.
So, when you're ready.
All right. So social alchemy is the energetic interplay between two or more mojos and relates to all mojo designs because each mojo is a member of a variety of different groupings that they share with each of the other designs in various measures, and they help you learn about all the other humans by seeing how your lens is related to theirs.
Nice. All right, Glenn?
All right. Social alchemy has to do with the interplay between two or more mojos, and basically that relates to all the other mojo designs because all mojos have to basically have some kind of an interaction with all the other mojos, and that creates special kind of dynamics that come out to play. And social alchemy is the complete understanding of all the different kinds of interplays and all the different kind of interactions that can be had as a result of all the different 16 different mojos.
Good. Got it. All right, Glenn, take the lead this next one. What is the recognition group for the NIG? Who is in this group? How does this social alchemy grouping help the NIG develop themselves?
All right, so the recognition group for NIG is NIG in their totality. This includes all NIG of every possible variation and level of development. Other NIG act as mirrors to each other in regards to their peak pathway potentiality, both the aspirational and the cautionary. NIG with their complex psychologies benefit greatly from studying other NIG. Right, so the recognition group for the NIG includes all NIG in their totality. In this group is included all NIG in all the different facets, and all the different varieties that they take shape in, whether they be male, female, all the different varieties of riffs, all different age groups, all of that is included within the NIG recognition group. This teaches a NIG a lot about themselves and how to develop themselves because they get to learn like different NIG in terms of the different age groups, different like sexes and all that sort of stuff, and what makes them different and similar to each other in that respect. But then also there's the cautionary separation to be as well developed, and you get to see all of that in terms of all the pantheon of cues that just basically all the varieties of NIG, and that's all NIG basically.
Good. Mitchell?
Yeah. The recognition group for the NIG is NIG in their totality, and all NIG of all varieties, levels of development, and riffs are in this group. And this group helps the NIG develop themselves because other NIG are a mirror in a way in terms of peak pathway for other NIG to look at, and this can help the Naiji, who have very complex psychology, learn about what they might be able to aspirationally achieve, and also what maybe they should have caution about as regards to how other Naiji have used their P pathway.
Got it. Alrighty. Mitchell, go first this next one.
Alright.
Who is the inspirational partner for the Naiji and why? What storyline do they create together with the Naiji? What are some areas of interest that are often shared by the Naiji and their inspirational partner?
The inspirational partner for the Naiji is the Nijai, which has the 4 conscious powers the Naiji does not. The Naiji and the Nijai together constitute the Nijai storyline. Understanding and elevating their Nijai storyline is crucial in finding a conducive lifestyle, an ideal mate for the Naiji. Both Nijais, the Naiji and the Nijai, show up frequently in acting, music, comedy, writing, social activism, invention, exploration, psychology, philosophy, spirituality, and much more. How much of that do I want to memorize?
And just one thing I did add into the document is that first sentence. It says the 4 conscious powers of Naiji does not. I think it says comma and in the ideal ranking. Just so you know.
And the ideal ranking. Okay.
Yeah, Nez, Jez, Zez, Vez.
Makes sense, because that is the reason why. Because there are lots of other mojas like the Vaizi that also have the same powers that aren't inspirational.
Yeah, they're not inspirational, not the same way.
Indeed.
Naiji and Vaizi, inspirational ideal, yeah, right.
So, like, when it says, like, what are some of the areas, like, are we just supposed to say, like, some of them, or,
Yeah,
like, do it?
like just a handful, and that'll work.
Okay. As I say, because I'm debating, like, how much I should memorize this. I don't want to, like, take up people's time, though, memorizing
But,
something
yeah,
really.
if you get like 5%, that'd be great.
Yeah. I could probably just come up with that off the top of my head. Alright, so, the inspirational partner for the Naiji is Nijai, and the reason for that is that the Nijai has the 4 conscious powers the Naiji does not in the ideal channel ranking that matches up to the Naiji's channel hierarchy. And the storyline they create together is the Nijai's storyline. And some areas of interest that they often share are acting, philosophy, spirituality, comedy, and invention.
Nice. Glenn?
Right? So the inspirational partner for the Naiji is the Nijai, and the reason why is because they have all the powers that the Naiji does not have consciously, and in the ideal ranking of Nez, Jez, Zez, and Vez as those channels. Together they create the Nijai storyline, and some areas that they both share a common interest in and show up a lot together in would include music, acting, comedy, social activism, exploration, spirituality, invention, exploration, and so on.
Got it. All right. Next up. There you go. Let's see. I'll lose track of the order. Let me know. Is this Glenn first, I think, probably?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one.
There you go. Who is the same source partner for the Naiji? What is the name of this duo? How does the same source partner help the Naiji develop themselves? What are some areas that are often shared by the Naiji and their same source partner?
All right, so the same source partner for the Naiji is the Nai-Z. The Naiji and the Nai-Z together make the Nai-Alpha, who share having Nai as their first-ranked power, but have different second-ranked and third-ranked powers. Nai-Z help you more fully develop your Nai. Both the Nai-Alpha show up frequently in act, comedy, and mixed martial arts.
And actually on that, let's adjust that to just say acting and comedy.
Acting and comedy?
Less represented in MMA.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That might be.
I think that's something. Yeah. I think the Naiji and the Ji-Nai probably have a better.
Yeah, for sure. I think I was reaching there a bit to try to find another commonality bubble, but it's better to go with, I think, a tighter grouping, just the two.
Acting and comedy is very, that makes a lot of sense.
It's like this, the more sports angle seems to go with the Jinai, and the more comedy angle seems to go with the Nai-Z.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the Xi and the V together, as compared to the Xi and the V. But yeah, let me just get this. All right, so the same source partner for the Nai-Ji includes the is the Nai-Z, and together they create the Nai-Alpha. The reason, the way in which the Nai-Z helps the Nai-Ji is because they kind of help the Nai-Ji understand what Nai is in its totality, and having Z, a logic-based power, as compared to Ji, helps the Nai-Ji round out their Xi a little bit more too, and make them a little bit more, it helps them understand their Xi, or use their Zi's power more adequately, given the Z, I think, of the Nai-Z. Some areas that they commonly share together would include acting and comedy.
Got it. Mitchell?
Okay. The same source partner for the Nai-Ji is the Nai-Z, and the name of this duo is Nai-Alpha, because they both have Nai as their source power, and hence the name of the group. And the same source partner helps the Nai-Ji develop themselves because it shows a different way, expand understanding of the way that Nai-Ji understand how their source power can be used, which they use it as a flavored with like a values-based power, and then Nai-Z uses it with Z, a logic-based power. And then some areas that are often shared by the Nai-Ji and same source partner Nai-Z are acting and comedy.
Got it.
I suspect more if we looked into it.
Yeah, I'm sure I will. Who is the inverse mojo partner for the Nai-Ji? What is the name of this duo? How does their inverse mojo partner help the Nai-Ji develop themselves? What are some areas that are often shared by the Nai-Ji and their inverse mojo partner?
Or was this me? Yeah. All right. The inverse mojo partner for the Nai-Ji is the Jinai. The Nai-Ji and Jinai together make the Durams, make up which are having Nai and Ji as the top two powers, but with Jinai having Ji first. Jinai help you more fully develop your Ji. Both Durams show frequently acting in most major sports and combat sports.
Got it.
The inverse mojo partner for the Nai-Ji is the Jinai, and the name of the duo they make up is Durams, or the Directive Romantics. And this inverse partner, the Jinai, helps the Nai-Ji develop themselves because they have similar powers to the Nai-Ji. They have like the Nai and Ji and flavor with similar powers and whatnot, but they have the Ji first, so it can help the Nai-Ji learn to develop and expand their understanding of the way that their Ji can be used. And some of the areas that are often areas of interest that are shared by the Nai-Ji and the Jinai are acting, and then most major sports and combat sports.
All right, so the inverse mojo partner for the Nai-Ji is the Jinai, and together they create the Durams, which basically is a grouping of both of directive romantics, and so the Nai-Ji and the Jinai both make it up because they both have Nai and Ji as their top two powers, but the Nai-Ji has Nai first, followed by Ji, whereas the Jinai has Ji first, followed by Nai as their tandem. And the way in which the Jinai helps the Nai-Ji develop themselves more is because they have Ji as their source power, and that helps them to bring helps the Nai-Ji develop their Ji power more as well. And I think also to a lesser degree that their V, I think also is helped a little bit as well, because the Jinai also have that higher rank than the Nai-Ji, who have it as their polar. Together, some of the bubbles that they kind of they show up a lot in together would include acting, most general sports, and combat sports.
Alrighty. And Glenn, you going first in this one then? I'm guessing. These are all clustered together here. It's 5 in a row, same kind of thing. What is the first wave quartet? What mojo designs in this grouping? What are the romantics quartet? Who's in it? What are Nai mojos? Who's in that group? What are Ji mojos? Who's in that group? What are Hunter mojos? And who's in that group?
All right, Naiji are in the first wave quartet, which also includes the Nijai, Naizi, and Nizai. The Nez Alpha are the 4 designs with an interpretive perception ranked first. This means they innately have the largest appetites for imagination and change. Naiji are in the Romantics quartet, which also includes the Nijai, Jinai, and Jiani. The Romantics are the 4 designs that are interpretive and values-based. This means their native energetic lifestyle is pervasively magical and passionate. Naiji are a member of several other quartets and more distant groupings. These are based on less native but still very useful and important relationships. For example, the Naiji are also hunters, subjective interpretives. Naiji are a member of several octates, groups of 8, which are based on energy fields. Naiji energy fields are directive, subjective, perception, lead, interpretive, and values-based. Each octate teaches the Naiji the full scope of one of their given energy fields by showing different heroic purposes it can serve for other mojo designs. So just the 5 quartets then, I think?
Yeah, just those 5 that I mentioned there, and then there'll be a follow-up question asking about some more obscure groups.
And they'll come later.
They'll come later, yeah. So here are just those 5 that are in the chat bar.
And do we need to mention all the members?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So what makes that group, and then who's in it?
And why that? What? Yeah. And so like the Romantics, for example, are interpretive values based, that kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So the 5 different quartets that the Naiji are a part of includes the Romantics, which have an interpretive and values-based power as their top 2 powers. This includes the Naiji, the Nijai, the Jinai, and the Jiani. The Naiji are also part of the perception lead quartet, or no, not the perception lead, but the interpretive perception lead quartet, or the change flow quartet, which includes all mojos that have a Nez power as their source ranked power. So this would include the Naiji.
But change flow is the overall grouping. Which group are they in of change flow?
They're in the first wave. Right. So that would include the Naiji, the Nijai, the Naizi, and the Nizai. Naiji are also a part of the Shades of Consciousness quartet, which includes all.
You're kind of going to some more obscure groups. You can just go ahead and look at the chat bar and see the 5 that are asked for in this question, which are the more main ones. And we'll do what you're doing next, which is we'll kind of grab some more obscure ones.
Okay.
The first 2 already, so it's the last 3.
Okay, so Ji mojos then?
Nai mojos, Ji mojos, and hunters.
Okay. So the Naiji are also part of the Nai mojos, which includes all mojos that have Nai as their one of their top 2 ranked powers. So Naiji, Jinai, Naizi, and Zinai. They're also part of the hunter grouping, which includes all subjective perception lead mojos. This would include the Naiji, the Naizi, the Vaiji, and the Vaizi. And lastly, they're also a part of the, or did I cover them all? Or the Ji. They're also part of the Ji face, or the grouping, which includes all mojos that have Ji as one of their top 2 ranked powers. So this would include the Naiji, the Jinai, the Vaiji, and the Ji Vai.
Got it. Mitchell?
So I'm just supposed to do the groupings you've listed here?
Yes.
Very good. Okay, so the first wave quartet is the quartet of mojos that has an interpretive power as their top power and a literal power last. And the mojo designs that are in this grouping are the Naiji, Nijai, Naizi, and Nizai. The Romantics quartet are mojos that have a momentum perception power that is interpretive and a momentum discernment power that is values-based. And the mojos that are included in this grouping are the Naiji, the Nijai, and the Jinai, and the Jiani. The Nai mojos are mojos that have Nai as their top conscious perception power, their momentum conscious perception power. And the mojos included here are the Naiji, the the Nai-Z, the Jinai, and Zenai. The Ji mojos are mojos that have Ji as their conscious discernment momentum power, and mojo designs included here are the Nai-Ji, the Bai-Ji, the Jinai, and the Ji-Bai. And lastly, the Hunter mojos are the mojos that have a worldview power as their source power, and all the other math that implies as far as the priorities. And the mojo designs in this grouping are the Nai-Ji, Nai-Z, Bai-Ji, and Bai-Z.
Got it. Okay, Mitchell will go take lead next, which is just 5 other groups that haven't been mentioned yet.
Sure, just any 5 others. Okay. That the Nai-Ji are part of, I assume, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's quartet or octate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even less than that?
Yeah, any group that's mentioned yet. You can do some other ones as well.
Okay. Okay, let's. Why don't we do?
Because there are some duos that we frequently talk about that haven't mentioned.
That's true. Why don't we do Shades of Consciousness? So Nai-Ji, the Shades of Consciousness group. There's 4 of them. I guess they're sort of all called that in a way, but in this one, the Nai-Ji are part of one that has the powers of Nai, Ji, Zai, and Vi consciously, and the 4 mojos in that grouping are the Nai-Ji, the Jinai, the Zai Vi, and the Zai. Then we have the maybe special club. So that is for the Nai-Ji, the subjective interpretives. So these are 4 mojos that have the energy fields of being subjective and interpretive, and those are Nai-Ji, Nai-Z, Jaini, and Zaini.
You guys can take turns. That might be better that way. So could all use them. How about Glenn? You jump into 2 of those, and we'll go back and forth the last of them.
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So Nai-Ji are also part of the Shades of Consciousness quartet.
You just did that one.
Oh, here. Oh, so it has to be a different one. Okay, well, they're part of the entire human matrix. So that would include all mojos that are all all the different mojos with all the different various pod powers that they have. So that would include the Nai-Ji, the Nijai, the Jinai, the Jaini, the Bai-Ji, the Vijai, the Ji-Bai, the Jai-Vi, the Bai-Z, the Vizai, the Zai-Vi, and Z-Bai, as well as the Nai-Z, the Nizai, the Zaini, and Zenai. Other than that, they're also part of the directives octate, which includes all of the directive mojos, Nai-Ji, Jinai, Nai-Z, Zenai, Bai-Ji, Ji-Vai, Vai-Z, and Z-Vai. That's 2. So should I go back to Mitchell now?
Yep.
Okay. Well, sorry, what was the second one you did? I heard the mojos, but
I did the human matrix and the directives.
Directives. Okay. So why don't we do the Jez Hunters? Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay. So I already did Hunters, but this is a little more specific. These are the mojos that have the worldview map as a source power, and specifically paired with that, all Hunters have a dynamics wheel power as their other momentum power, but this is specifically the Ji with that, and as the minor momentum power, and so that is going to be the Nai-Ji and the Vai-Ji. And then
let's go ahead, Glenn.
Oh, okay. No, please do this.
I'm trying to think here. What are some other ones? Nai-Ji are perception lead mojos.
Yep.
Can we do that one?
Yep. That's good. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I should do it. Okay, so that they're also perception lead mojo, and that octate is basically all the mojos that favor a more favor a lifestyle that includes a more taking information in as compared to having a discernment lead kind of position in life. Yeah. So that would include the Naiji, the Naizi, the Nijai, the Nizai, the Vaiji, the Vijai, the Vaizi, and the Vizai. I was wanting to describe that in a better way though, Kush. So how would you
Perception
say,
lead are mojos that have a perception power as their major momentum.
And modulation.
Yeah, it's true. But so you said favoring. You could use that. You could say so they place energetically information gaining over decision making.
Ah, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, they favor information gaining as compared to making discernments.
Like
as
perception
lead,
has a major
as their lead strategy in life,
or as their momentum, as what gives them more energy. They gain more energy from that.
Ah, okay, cool.
That process. Mitchell, so what is that? Is that 3 each?
Yeah, we do 3. So another one I have is the sub-ROMs. I think that's fine too. The sub-ROMs are also kind of a subset of what I've already done, which is the special club. But basically, the sub-ROMs are both romantics, but they share the fact that they are subjective and interpretive in their energy fields, although they have different powers. But they are interpretive and values-based, what it means to be romantic, and that's the Naiji and the Shiny. And they share a lot of commonalities and do a lot of things together.
Indeed. Glenn?
Let me just see here. Naiji are 9V users.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So basically, they fall into the octate that includes all mojos that have Nai and V as their conscious perception powers, either as Nai being source or tandem or offside or polar. It doesn't matter if they're interpretive or literal. So this would include the Nai-Ji, the Nai-Z, the Ji-Nai, the Z-Nai, the Zai-V and the Zhai-V, and the V-Zhai and the V-Zai.
Right. Last one, Mitchell?
That's so hard it should be. So Naiji are interpretive. I don't think that's been done, has it?
No.
Okay, that's an easy one. Well, okay, then Naiji they have like 8 other mojos in interpretive perception as one of their momentum powers, their highest perception, just consciously, and I guess overall. And that would be the Naiji, Nai-Z, Nijai, Nizai, Ji-Nai, Z-Nai, Zai-Ni, and Zhai-Ni.
Cool. And last one for you, Glenn.
Did we do values-based?
No, we did not.
Alright, so the Naiji fall into the octate of values-based, which includes all mojos that have a values-based power as one of their momentum powers, either be source or tandem. So obviously this would include the Naiji, but then also includes the Ji-Nai, the Nijai, the Zhai-Ni, the Vaiji, the Vijai, the Ji-Vai, and the Vaiji, or the Vaiji, the Vijai, the Ji-Vai, and the Zhai-Vi.
Got it. All right. And last question, take lead, Glenn. What is the human matrix, and how does it inform on how all humans relate to each other? How does it relate to social alchemy?
All right. So the human matrix encompasses all humans and their innate nature, including their innate natures, including the Naiji. So any individual can have a positive energetic connection with any other individual, creating productive harmony through a species collective of cooperative specialists. This is based on the principles of human design, which includes the principles of productive harmony between all designs. It just takes building up one's understanding and fluency, starting with the most native designs to their own, which for the Naiji are other Naiji, Nijai, Ji-Nai, and Nai-Z, then expanding one's relationship horizons from there. the second part of the question there is a little bit. I'm not sure how I understand. How does this relate to social alchemy?
You can kind of base his question is looking for how does one use the principles of social alchemy to take advantage of the productive harmony that will be talked about in your first response to the first question, and that's talking about going with those that are most native view first in social alchemy, and then working all the way out to the furthest social alchemy groupings for you.
Oh, okay. All right. So the human matrix includes all the different mojos and all the various interrelationships that can be had, which includes the Naiji, of course, as well. And this relates to social alchemy specifically for the Naiji, but in general, one would want to work with the mojos that are the most native and the most easiest to get along with first, which tend to be mojos that share similar strategies that they use in life. Like the Naiji have a very good time getting along with the Nijai because they're both Nijez, and the Jinai is also a really great mojo to want to get along with as well because they have Ji and Nai as they share the same momentum compound basically, but just inverted, and also the Nai Alpha, which would include the Nai Z. So working from there though, and then expanding one's horizons as they move out to more and more mojos that are less and less similar, but they're always going to be similar to a certain degree because they're all a part of the human matrix, which includes all 16 mojos, and every mojo is meant to have a good positive relationship with every other mojo and good interplay, and there's always room to grow and learning between all mojos and any kind of interplay that can manifest through the entire human matrix.
Good. Mitchell?
So the human matrix is that which encompasses all humans and all of their innate natures, and shows that any human, regardless of their innate nature with respect to another, can have a positive relationship to another human, a positive energetic contribution of some kind, because humans are designed to be kind of like a network of cooperative specialists. And this relates to social alchemy because different social alchemy groups that a mojo is part of, or that they're a member of, there's degrees of similarity based on how many members there are in that group, and kind of how far out you're going. So like the Naiji identity relationship, obviously one can understand the Naiji easiest, and then the Nijez the Nijai is very close to the Naiji in a lot of ways in their story, and then a little farther you have like the Naizi and the Jinai, who share a lot of similarities, and then farther and so on, and you can kind of go out expanding one layer at a time to relate to all the other mojos.
Got it. All right, that takes care of that pitch, the Naiji Social Alchemy, and we're now going to move on to Naiji Life Partners. All righty, so Mitch, you'll take lead. What are the major categories of life partners for all mojos?
Okay. Social alchemy has several areas that have significant expansion for specific purposes, such as education, business, and the most popular of all, life partners. Finding, selecting, and successfully interacting with potential life mates involve a multitude of factors, including nature, nurture, and free will. There are various different forms of intimate and life partner relationships, such as inspiration, augmentation, compensation, and suppression, which have corresponding energetic dynamics that go along with them.
I'm going to update that question to have one more to it, because things came here before as well. Let's also put in why is it important to study life partners hierarchy? How about that?
Sure. Is this first or second?
I'll go first. Because that's mentioned, isn't it, right? It's why it's important?
Yeah, I think so. It definitely consider it.
So we're answering those two questions there, Coach. What are the major categories, and then what are the major...
I'm typing in. Here it is. Here's the revised
Sure.
Okay.
There you go. Why is it important to understand life partner hierarchy? What are the major categories of life partners for all mojos?
I got you. All right. So social alchemy has sort of several expansion areas that it gets into for human dynamics, like education, business, and one of the most popular of all is life partners. And the reason it's important to understand the life partner hierarchy is because there's a lot to selecting a life partner, and there's nature, nurture, and free will, and you want to optimize all the factors that you can. And so understanding the life partner hierarchy will definitely help maximize the nature aspect of it. That would be, and the categories are inspiration is the highest, followed by augmentation, then compensation, and that has some various varieties that I guess they all do, and suppression is the lowest, and that is the farthest away.
And just mentioned, since you mentioned nurture, the nature, definitely it also would affect nurture and free will. Nurture in that knowing how to take care of a life partner once you found
okay.
it.
Yeah,
And then also free will in that if you are selecting which kind of riff, and if you're going to select one that is of a various category, be it inspiration or augmentation, it's good to know that you are selecting it. So as you have it, it's free will, but informed free will is always better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You want to
it's
be.
sort of like it's not really free if you don't really know what's
Exactly. Yeah, uninformed free will is not that free.
Not
Yeah.
really.
Ignorance is not bliss.
Indeed. Okay. Yeah, by the way, there's definitely some political parties that sort of say ignorance is free will. Is it? I think it's just ignorance.
Not as far as free will as it gets. Pathological free
Glenn?
will.
Yep.
Just a question. I'm having trouble understanding that first question. Why is it important? What is it? Why is it important? Oh no. Why is it important? Why is it important?
Typo. Why is it important to understand life partner hierarchy?
Yeah. Why is it important? Just a.
Well, basically because it's going to be the most important relationship you're going to have, and it's a lot to it. I guess that's the basics. It's the most influential in your life that you're going to have, and the nature, nurture, free will part means there's a lot going on. There's a lot of factors and tumblers in that equation.
Okay. Okay.
So very important and a lot to it. Short answer.
All right. So, social alchemy has a lot of different, very significant factors that influence, how people make decisions as far as partners in their life, and that would include business and, partnerships of any kind, life partners. And it's really important because it tends to be one of the greatest kind of relationship that one tends to have in their life. There's a lot in terms of time spent, but then also in terms of the intimacy that usually is also a product of that kind of a relationship, which tends to just come along with it. So this it's factored in by a lot of different things, which include nature, nurture, and free will. Some major categories of life partners for all mojos would include inspiration, augmentation, compensation, and suppression.
Cool. And to clear things up, this is good. I added to the first sentence where it says most important of all life partners. After life partner, I put comma, often one's most influential relationship.
Okay. Cool.
Where do you put the influential relationship?
Right after where it says, and most popular of all life partners. After life partners, instead of a period, I put a comma.
Oh, okay. In the first.
Often one's most influential relationship.
Okay. I don't think the Constantine was a different paragraph you're talking. My bad.
Influential, yeah, that's a good word to use.
All right. Okay, so next up, let me type that in here as well. So next up
would be me.
Yep, and we're going to start breaking them down, the categories. Okay, so here you go. First one.
I feel like we covered this just like.
Oh, what's that?
I feel like we covered all this like just like a few days ago or something. It feels like so.
That's good though, because they are mathematical, and these are topics that come up over and over again. You really want to have them down. What are inspirational life partners? How frequently do inspirational life partners occur? Which mode designs are inspirational life partners for the NIG, and why?
All right. So the most common successful pairing for innate relationships is between two people who can best project their unconscious genius onto one another. The ideal inspirational for the Naiji is the Nijai, who has the 4 powers that the Naiji does not, and in the hierarchical ranking that matches up perfectly with the Naiji. 2 other highly inspirational mojos for the Naiji are the Jaini and the Nizai. The Jaini has both Ni and Jai as the top 2 powers, the most inspiring powers to Naiji, but with Jai ranked above the Ni when the Naiji is Ni ranked above Jai as their top 2 powers, as is the case with the Nijai. The Nizai has the power of Ni first, like the Nijai, but the second power for the Nizai is Zai, which is a logic-based power, when a Naiji's Ji is ideally inspired by Jai, a values-based power. Well, I have to do the beat.
Oh gosh! I thought it was you doing it. I was like, badass.
It's like I said it just like the way you wrote it, Coach.
I didn't know. I just noticed you were like blah 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 blah. Like, well, okay, he sounds like he knows what he's talking. Go ahead.
All right, so I just need to ask the question. This will. Okay, so the most inspirational life partners for the Naiji would include the Nijai, the Jaini, and the Nizai, and they tend to show up quite frequently in what do you call it, situations for the Naiji. They tend to show up quite a bit. Inspirational partnerships tend to show up the most as compared to all the other kinds of relationships, which would be more so than the augmentation, more so than compensation, more so than the suppression. So they're the most common of all of the various kinds of relationship dynamics. But the Nijai is specifically the most ideal relationship partner for the Naiji because they have all the powers that the Naiji does not, and in the ideal ranking of Nez, Jez, Zez, and then Vez. The next, the Jaini is also inspiring to the Naiji as well, but they don't have the same powers in the exact same ranking. They have Jai as their first rank power and then followed by Ni, whereas the Naiji are more ideally inspired by someone who has Ni first and then Jai. And when it comes to the Nizai, they have Ni like the Nijai does as their source power, but instead of Jai being their second rank power, which would be more ideally fit for the Naiji given their Ji tandem rank power, they have Zai, and this is a power that the Naiji shares themselves, so there tends to be a little bit more of a competitive nature given the fact that there's 2 mojos that share the same power, and also the same thing goes with the Ji, which the Naiji and the Nizai also share as well. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it.
Cool. Nice. Mitchell?
Okay. So inspirational life partners are the kind of life partner that is ideally meant to have the unconscious genius or other projected onto. And these are the most common sorts of relationship because they are the most energetically compelling as compared to augmentation and compensation and suppression. So in general, they're the most common. Although in practice it's complicated, but the mojo designs of the inspiration that are inspirational for the Naiji are the Nijai, Nizai, and Jaini. And with Nijai, that's because that's ideal inspirational since they have in the proper channel ranking that matches up lock and key with the Naiji. So the Nez, Ni, and then Jez, Zez, and Vez, all powers. The issue with the Nizai is that, although it is highly inspirational because there's a lot of powers they don't have in a good position in the peak pathway, there's the issue that they have the same. They have two of the same powers, so there's a redundancy with the Ji and Zai. Like Glenn mentioned, that can lead to just competitive or just redundant efforts, I guess, that don't really complete. It's like they just sort of they really sort of both need the other end of the channel to fulfill it completely, and then also just the fact that the channel ranking is also off with having Zai second there. Nizai is logic based, which doesn't really match well with the Naiji being values based. So the momentum modulation, the things that make that happen are a little bit off, at least in the discernments. Then with the Zhaini, there's the four powers are correct. There's nothing wrong there, but the channel hierarchy is probably even more off. Basically, you have lead discerner with a lead perceiver, which is off, because Naiji have more of a kind of liquidy sort of rhythm, and Zhaini have more solid rhythm, and Zhaini have higher values and literal powers, whereas Naiji have get more energy or lose less energy from interpretive and logic based, and so just the rhythm can be a little bit off. But there's a lot of inspiration there too, since they do have at least the correct momentum powers for each other and the correct modulation powers.
Good. All right. I lost track of who's.
It's Mitchell.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
That was the last person who went.
That's a good way to do it. Thank you. Simple. Okay, what are augmentation-like partners? How frequently do they occur? And which designs are augmentation-like partners for Naiji, and why?
Well, just on the last beat, I just wanted to mention real quick. You mentioned the redundancy part, given the fact that Naiji and Nizai have Ji and Zai as both conscious powers. But then I think, there's also the fact that there's the gap.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, there's too much of those two powers, and there's not enough of the other two powers that are not being represented. Yeah.
I did say that. I said that they both kind of need the fulfillment from the other side of the channel.
Exactly. Yeah. I wanted to just sort of talk about that for a second.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you'll feel both the inefficient overlapping and the lack.
Yeah.
Lacking powers. Right. Mitchell,
And
you ready?
logic business. The next one's comparing is when two people with the same innate nature design come together, called augmentation, which tends to happen when they share a common cause or whole that acts as the projection of their unconscious genius instead of projecting an unconscious genius into human form. In the Naiji, this usually means pairing up with another Naiji as life partner, which has benefits of being comfortable and easy to understand. However, it lacks necessary different powers required to inspire the Naiji to their maximum potential. This inspiration will need to be found through other means, such as art, career, or cause, to bring these energies into the Naiji's life on a consistent basis. And then it doesn't really mention in the paragraph that I'm looking at anyway, the Naizi and the Jinai, but I should probably mention this.
Yeah, I think I did add that in. Last
kind of old version,
would have been good.
But
yeah, just know where it is. I put it in for the Naiji. This usually means pairing up with another Naiji as life partner, comma, and sometimes Naizi or Jinai.
Okay.
Yeah. Two people with the same or similar innate nature design.
All right. So. So, augmentation life partners are when two people of the same innate nature design or innate nature designs that are like really, really close, the same some way, get together as life partners, and this is very frequent. It's more frequent than on the whole compensation and suppression, but less so than inspiration. And the emoji designs that are augmentation
And
life partners.
why does it usually occur? Do you mind mentioning that?
Yeah, as I do. It's just that it often occurs when the Naiji or whatever their mojo is involved, or the Naiji is with, project their unconscious genius onto some kind of cause or career, art form, or something like that, that brings the energies from their unconscious genius into their life instead of a person. So the designs that are augmentation are the Naiji, the Nai-Z, and the Jinai. And I guess should we explain why the Naiji is better augmentation, or is that gonna?
You can if you want. It's not necessary, but you're more than welcome to.
All right. Well, I mean, that's good. That's fine. I understand why they are. But
Okay, Glenn.
I don't need to prove it.
Okay, so alright, so the augmentation like partners has to do with any kind of mojo that gets together with another mojo that has similar or the same conscious rank powers as the mojo design in question. Like for the Naiji, that would include the Nai-Z and the Jinai as being the two mojos that most closely relate to the Naiji. And the reason why this kind of relationship happens in general has to do with the fact that the participants are trying to project their unconscious other onto something other than another human form. And so their unconscious genius is being projected onto like a piece of land or something, or like their some kind of art or some craft or something, and they're trying to develop themselves in that kind of a way. And it's also tends to be a little bit more comfortable in a way too to want to get in those kind of relationships because there's the commonality of being mojos that have the same kind of conscious powers. Like the Naiji and the Nai-Z, they have Nai as their source power, and the Naiji and the Jinai have all four same conscious powers. So that's also why they get together in that way as well. One of the drawbacks, though, is that it causes the Naiji to not be able to realize their maximum potential, and that's usually because they need to have a relationship with their Nijai, so they need to find some other compensatory way in order to kind of get that in their life. If they're not able to do so, relationship, which is more like a partnership to want to like, it's more like that. The augmentation. It also happens to be the second most common general relationship dynamic, whereas the inspirational is the most common. Although the Nai-Alpha grouping of the Naiji and Naiji, or not Nai-Alpha, but the Naiji to Naiji relationship in certain ways is more common than certain other, like the Naiji and the Jaini. It might be more common as compared to that kind of relationship.
You got it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, true. Yeah, the ideals, there's usually like a tip of the pyramid that's like the most common, but it will go in with aggregates. And then also if you compare the most common cross-section, it'll still line up. So in total, inspiration is more than in total augmentation. And if you compare just Nijez to just Naiji with Naiji, that's also ahead. Okay, next up would be Glenn taking lead. What are compensation-like partners? How frequently do they occur? Why do Naiji need to be especially careful about falling into such situations?
All right, so another mate choice that is not uncommon usually involves in partners who are conducive to one's cultural conditioning and expectations, which then determine the worldly goals they set for themselves, including who they spend their life with. These are called compensatory relationships, as they use one's mate as a form of coping mechanism to deal with the overactive stimulation and overbearing expectation that can come from established traditions. Now, walking and disassociation abilities make it to where they can easily create makeshift lives for themselves in all kinds of inclement environments, including relationships that are unhealthy. So yeah, this has to do with, like, for example, you should get involved in this relationship because they're a doctor or they're a lawyer and this is good for you.
Exactly.
Or
you're a supermodel or something.
It's a lot of those mojos too that actually would be for
Naiji. Or some kind of like Game of Thrones kind of thing, where it's like you need to
you need to bring these houses together. This marriage would do that.
Yeah.
So,
exactly, and it's inspired by it's kind of like the world impinging on them.
it is.
Basically, yeah.
And family, like the family and different things like that, even career, are very important in their way, but they never trump the basic math of peaking. That's just the fundamental physics of being a human. So nothing trumps that.
Yeah. All right, so the compensation like partners is the third most common overall kind of grouping, whereas the inspiration is the most common and the augmentation is the second most common. This usually has to do with worldly expectations or familial expectations, or any kind of worldly kind of thing getting on the participants in, outside forces basically impinging on the Naiji or any Mojo really to try and get them to meet these certain kinds of goals, meet these certain expectations. Like, you have to be in this relationship because it's going to be beneficial to the family, or it's going to be beneficial to the business, quote unquote, or it's going to be beneficial in some kind of a way. But it excludes usually the understanding of social alchemy and how that's very, very important and should be placed as the lead importance in one's life as far as how they, come up with relationships in general. And the Naiji need to be especially careful of these because if they allow themselves to get too caught up in these kinds of relationships and spend too much time, and it's really unhealthy because the Naiji are really good at sort of making sort of like these makeshift lives where they kind of ghost walk and kind of like they take on those forms and they can sort of become possessed by them and not really know how to live in any other kind of way as compared to that kind of a way, when there's obviously better ways in which that they can live, but because they've never really been exposed to them correctly, they never are cognizant of that, and so they just continue to live these kinds of lives which may be very modulating and very unhealthy to them overall, but because of the fact that they're kind of trapped in these kinds of lifestyles, they're not able to realize their full potential and see what's beyond just their this kind of relationship that they're in, which tends to be compensatory. So they happen in life, but they need to be managed correctly, and there needs to be a balance overall. There has to be more inspiration than there is compensatory, obviously, on the whole.
Got it. Mitchell?
All right, so compensation life partners are where there are life partners where they are conducive to one's sort of worldly or cultural conditioning and expectations, but they don't really line up all that well mathematically as far as peaking is concerned. There might be like some thing that works there, but like it for the most part doesn't tend to be very close. And it is more common than suppression because that's like outright canceling out, but it is less common than augmentation and inspiration, which are generally healthier. The Naiji need to be especially careful about falling into compensation situations, into relationships that are compensation, because they have a lot of abilities like disassociation and ghost walking and shape shifting that let them just kind of go along with lives and just sort of go through the motions without really sort of being there and actually being fulfilled. They have a lot of like range as far as like the forms that they can represent to just make something work that aren't really conducive to them. And then also in addition to that, I guess, is that a lot of the times their gifts aren't, because they're an IG and we're extremely high in the SS index, are not really going to be respected. Like what we usually need to do to peak is usually not the thing the world is telling you to do. So it can be very, very easy and tempting to have some kind of compensation lifestyle that maybe even the IG thinks what they're doing is good. They're not just going along with it, but they actually are themselves persuaded that it's easy to go with what the world wants.
Indeed. Yeah, it happens a lot of times where they'll use a power that's just one of their many powers and a power that's used in a particular way, but it gets a good result. The world's like, yeah, more of that. You're like, okay, I guess that's what I do. No, there's a lot more you can do than that.
Yeah, that's a good thing to want to point out. Like Naiji or any kind of mojo really that kind of gets into those kinds of relationships, it can feel like you're really good at playing a role that's kind of lopsided. You know, like you're meant to be much more, but you're kind of like trying to make something that is not supposed to technically work at all, but you're trying to like make it work as best as it can, but it's still not ideal. It's sort of like a car that's running on the wrong kind of fuel. Sure, you can make it work, but it's kind of like it's not optimized, right?
Yeah, and you can hear it like the noise that it makes. It's like a little off.
Sure.
And the compensation relationship with IGA, I think, I mean, I've seen quite a few of those, like in our samples and stuff.
And if you're not being validated, correctly on a regular basis, the first time you get like a big response to like shape-shifting in a certain way, and you're like, yeah, like you're like, okay, I mean, it feels good to be validated. If you don't have, like I think you said, Glenn, if you don't have something else showing you there's other things besides that, all you know is lack of validation, and I'm finally getting some, and there's nothing else to tell you that there's more to the equation than that.
Yeah, there's getting some, and then there's getting a lot, and then there's
getting what you need.
The proper amount, and then there's variations to getting, what it is that you. Like, some people are so starved that they'll take whatever they can get. So you have to be. You have to take what you can get, but then at the same time you have to be also ambitious and wanting to try and find better and more conducive relationships and environments for yourself to peak properly.
Yeah, so, I mentioned in there, but it's kind of related as well, is the code of conduct, which is, if you're not being validated and all of a sudden you get some validation, you feel kind of like, you're happy to be getting some validation, but also, like, there's a sense of loyalty to the first, person or situation that gave you any any love.
Right. Any kind of validation, and so that can become kind of like a little bit of a trap, because if you find better validation from a different source, then you should technically change to that, but the loyalty, it can be sort of like you're just being loyal for the sake of being loyal and not being loyal for the better reason, which is to want to be a better person, which is the best for everybody, even including the people that you're going to be kind of like letting go, I guess.
Exactly, but sometimes it's a little challenge to see the big picture and to explain it to other people. Without them going, you suck, you betrayed me. All right, next up, see here, I think it might be the last one. Yes, it is.
Clinton is a good example. The compensation relationship.
And I think one I see quite a bit on that, and this gets a lot of people too, I think it's why they're so popular, like the Jibai ladies you talked about.
Oh, yeah.
If you talk about like being a standard kind of like wife mate, they do like all the stuff you're supposed to do. They're upbeat, they're loving, they're warm, they handle stuff, they get the details. And so, I mean, if you're kind of trained like that's how things work, then you kind of feel like, whoa, I should totally respect that they're being like a perfect mate. You know what I mean? Because some mojos, the Jibai gets a lot, that by certain standards, like, wow, they really do everything you're supposed to do. I should respect that and be loyal to that.
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
What are suppression-like partners? How frequently do they occur? Which mojos are suppression-like partners for an IG? And why do they occur with surprising frequency? They're least frequent, but they're not infrequent.
Right, so who's doing this one? Is it me?
Is it Mitchell, or I've lost track, I'm sorry.
I think it's me, actually, yeah. I'm pretty sure I went last and last one. Last life partner grouping worth noting is a suppression relationship, which comes when the partners are designs that put each other in a constant state of modulation. For an ISG, this can often be the EJI. This is not energetically advantageous, but it happens usually because an ISG just gathers, but otherwise are quite different. All right, so suppression life partners are a life partner that essentially puts you in a constant state of modulation. They have one of your like major modulation powers in like a major position. So like primary. Anyway, they are the least common out of all the major groupings, fortunately, because they probably have the most energetic waste to them, and so they're less common than compensation, augmentation, and inspiration. And the emoji designs that are suppression for an IG are primarily the V-Zine, most of all, and secondly, the Zyvi and the Vijay. Life partner suppression life partner situations occur with a lot of frequency for the Naiji, I guess. Two reasons I can think of. One is that they mentioned the Vijay. It can look a lot like the Nijai in a lot of ways, but maybe they get more worldly validation and the more highest index powers that are part of the Nijai story, just like for the Nijai, maybe like the Baiji would. So you can sort of, because there's like a glimmer of inspiration with the Vijay, and you can kind of take that and plus the worldly validation and be like, that's what I should be having as a partner, but it's not. And then just as a part of that more broadly, why even like maybe an ad practice is just that their powers, the suppression power, like the Nijez storyline in general is just really not very validated by the world, and it's usually very rarely what the world is telling you to do. So suppression relationships can seem like this person's helping me out with all this Daryu stuff, but really it's also keeping you in a state of constant Daryu.
Yep, well
That's
said.
what you're feeling all the time.
All right, so the suppression life partners is a relationship that has to do with a mojo having to get into another relationship with another mojo that has either one or both of their, momentum powers as their modulation. So for the Naiji, this would include the Vizai, the Vijay, and the Zai-V. These, on the whole, tend to be the least common, but they aren't like. It wouldn't be correct for me to say that they're not common at all. They tend to be quite common in certain respects, like the Naiji and the Vijay tend to get together quite a bit in the public eye, as we've collected data on, for example. And one of the reasons why this happens is because the one or both of the partners may have mistaken the other as being their ideal inspirational, or being inspirational in general, but it's actually not. So there can be sort of some confusion there, but there might also be other factors involved as well, like the Naiji likes the fact that the Vijay that they're in a relationship with is got some kind of worldly coin that the Naiji also wants, like they're hot. And so the Naiji likes that, and so they get involved with the Vijay because it's kind of like their way of getting a sort of like some kind of a V fetish kind of perk from their environment. So it can either be done intentionally or it can be done unintentionally, but either way, the Naiji and the Vijay, for example, they tend to be quite common, in certain respects even more common than some compensatory or some augmentation relationships, but on the whole, the entire relationships, all suppression relationships tend to be very uncommon. Yeah, and the same goes with the Vizai and the Zai-V. Naiji kind of get involved in those relationships too because of other lesser kind of field desires or confusion. Maybe the Naiji is confusing the Zai-V for a Jaini because, I don't know, whatever the case may be, or the Vizai for a Nizai, or the Nijai for a Vizai, or any kind of thing can happen like that. So it's confusion, and then there's also unhealthy desires and drivers.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I kind of mentioned mainly in the beat about the confusion, but you guys brought up another point just very relevant, which is almost like they're using it as like a talisman against their Daryu. You mean sort of like somehow if they have a V mojo, it will defend them against the V modulation of the world, which is always beating on them. But actually, what it does is it keeps the V around.
Yeah, it does. You have to deal with V all the time.
All the time.
It can help you deal with it, but there's a price for that.
There's a price, indeed.
And what like so one of the ones we've had VSI like with like Eminem and Bruce Lee,
Bruce Lee,
right?
yeah.
They have a lot of probably Dario themes in their lives too. So
Yeah, you don't
explains
beat
that.
fire with fire. You have to beat fire with water, right? You gotta.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
see,
that's-
this gets back to kind of when you were mentioning, Glenn, before about how the compensatory can seem like a good deal only because you're not really privy to any other competing deals. And if you can see those deals, you're like, wait a minute, there's way better deals. The same thing with the suppression is in a way, which is the given. The given is that either the world is just going to be beating me up with V all the time. That's just the given. And there's nothing else to sort of mitigate that that's just the given. V is going to be knocking me on my butt all life long. That's just going to happen. Or, related to that, I am going to do this profession that's like really beat up, for example, and this is what I am. I'm a basketball player that does V.
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of the basketball players have like V wives.
V wives. And it's because the given is off. The given that the world will just beat you up with V. That's actually not true. The world doesn't know what it's doing, but you can actually do things to make it where you live a different life. You can live a more artistic life, a philosophical life, or scientific theories or whatever, where you are in different bubbles of the world where you will not be beaten up by V all the time. So the given is the entire world is one big V bubble beating you up. There's actually other bubbles you can get to. Or,
Science can bring in the Zeds too, though, so it's a nice way
yeah,
to
for
have
sure.
cats or ladies.
Yeah, definitely. I was just countering like the part about like this.
I know, yeah.
It's always been this
point
literal
was valid.
physical focus. But there are other bubbles you could get to where that's not a focus. And then also, like, I'm a basketball player. Well, no, you're an IG. And everything comes off of that. So you can be a basketball player, but that doesn't automatically mean you have to be beat up. One is not
Yeah.
the other.
Being a basketball player is also man-made in a way. Like it's something that is some kind of like a construct, whereas your mojo is, I guess you could say that it's also a kind of construct, but it's based off of a phenomenon that is that is intrinsically informing on your soul design. That
It's
is
construct
absolutely
as far as like hardware versus software.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's kind of like that's
construct, but
what,
it's a lot different.
there's definitely the very
Hardware could do a
different
lot more,
aspect.
yeah.
Yeah,
So there's been a
and-
lot of crazy stuff going on in basketball lately, hasn't there?
What's that?
There's been a lot of like crazy stuff going on in basketball lately, hasn't there? With like trades and stuff, or like people going to different
Oh,
teams.
yeah.
Like Golden State now, I think has like Kevin Durant or something. What's his mojo?
I believe Kevin Durant is who I'm thinking. I think that's an IG.
He's an IG. Yeah, and I know the other really good one on the team already is an EJ. Or excuse me, an IG. I meant to say. What's his name again?
Oh, which team is this? Golden State.
Golden State.
That was Steph Curry, right? Steph Curry.
Steph Curry. Yeah.
We were
Yeah, I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
basketball.
You lost me.
Glenn. But
My
Glenn,
brother's like.
But Glenn, I
That's
did
a-
notice that actually, although there's way more ad pracs, and particularly Zy-V, that actually among team captains, the Durhams are really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I noticed that IG
I
are
would
really
think
strong in basketball.
Team captains. That would make sense because I mean I think directive would play into that a little bit, and the G I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
And honestly, Durhams generally don't bother doing something if they can't.
show off.
Yeah, basically. I mean, if they can't be like the guy or the girl, then they're like, why am I doing this? So they usually pick some V thing where they're like, I think I could be top. Like, not like I could make good money. Like, I want to be famous.
Seen.
Seen.
I want to be seen, and I want to be seen in this kind of a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I want the camera to be like noticing. Like they don't notice the. Not to play down any of those other roles because they're vital and important and they're necessary to the entire team cohesion and like the winning overall. But you know, like Michael Jordan jumping up and scoring the hoop thing or whatever, like that's kind of like
You're like a legend. You're like a
that's
you're
kind
like
of
a
yeah.
champ.
They
People
could
want
Yeah.
to
beat
be
LeBron
like you.
this year, couldn't they?
Whereas folks
So
like,
they
because
get-
the other positions are very important, and I mean, just being honest, they make really good money too. So they're good positions that make really good money, but you notice that the Durhams generally, there's not very many of them compared to them. So I think a lot of times the Durhams, probably early on, say basketball career or tennis or whatever, they're like, if they don't start noticing that I'm going to be exceptionally good at this, they bail.
Yeah.
Because there's that deep need to want to make a mark. If you're like, I don't want to just make a lot of money, you know what I mean? I want to make a mark.
Yeah, I want to accomplish something that's more than just, you know, just money. Yeah, basically,
Really good
I
point.
want to
Same
like
thing with
actually
hats,
achieve
yeah.
some kind of thing that's like that's more meaningful, something that's actually like redefined the game, or like I was able to, I don't know, accomplish this kind of a record. Although breaking records shouldn't be like the main goal, but it has to be
But
something
I mean,
higher.
it's there, and yeah, we're all obviously talking about things that can go very unhealthy. But yeah, I mean, there's basically there's a juice that the Durons in particular get. G-Mojos get it in general, um, but the Durons tend to go more legendary route with it. But they want to where their name holds tremendous power, the power of reputation. G Mojos want that in general, and the Durons want it to be some kind of magical. Where people are like they're like some kind of hero of a book. That's what you when people hear your name. That's what the reaction you want to get.
Yeah,
Actually,
like you're.
Right, it's like
We
like
talked about this
CEOs.
before. Yeah, like it has to do with like the myth factor or something like that, right? Like
for sure.
Yeah, like the Black Mamba.
Yeah,
Kobe Bryant.
exactly. And Mitchell, you'll see is also, I'm sure you know that working the STEM is same thing. Is that there's actually a lot more ad serves. Is also
Yeah.
a very good correlated to basketball, except with interpretives. It's instead of ad pracs, it's ad serves. There's way more of them, and they're all doing really worthy contributions. The Najee doesn't show up that much, but when they do, they tend to be really famous for something. And
Yeah, either some kind of like they like to be like the spokesperson of it,
that's right.
the science, like someone like a Carl Sagan or Neil deGrasse Tyson, or maybe the science they're doing even isn't necessarily that it's better than the ad serves, but they're like a really good like
That's a
representative
good
of
point. It's about being recognized. It is.
Or
I've
or
noticed
like-
this in my own life too, actually. Just like any kind of bubble that I kind of get into, there's like a natural desire to want to just become like the person, the go-to person, I guess you could say.
A face for that.
The
that's right.
face, yeah, like you tend to just sort of like get defaulted into that kind of like position of being someone that's like really important in that group, whatever the group might
And if
be.
you don't, the night this has to watch out for if it's not done for healthy reasons. The egocentrism will rear up. Like, if I'm not gonna be a face person, then why am I doing this?
Yeah.
But Mitch, you brought up a really good point there, because actually, like the Najee and STEM, they either well, three things I noticed. One, they just get like freakishly good at something.
Sure.
But you're right, two other things that aren't even necessarily mean you're the best scientist, but they do mean you get more famous. One is you invent something. A lot of times not if you invent or discover something, but their actual like scientific mastery, even in the field that they discover something in, isn't as strong as a lot of the ad serves.
Right. They were just more imaginative, right? They were
More
just like
imaginative, they were more forward thinking, they took more risks. And so that's, and then when
like Steve Jobs.
and they worked on the math related to that more so than other people worked on that math. They were thinking different thoughts, and they were actually following through and trying to make those work, where other people, they were not even considering those ideas at all.
Yeah, you see it a lot.
So originality is factored in there. Yeah, but you were saying a third point.
No, but yeah, going up just what you're saying, Glenn, is that basically on the STEM thing, for example, is there's being freakishly good, like going Kensei. That's one way. Second way is actually
like
going
Corey
first. And going first doesn't mean you're the best. In fact, there may be a lot of people that come in later that are actually more solid than you, but they didn't go first. And going first gets a lot of recognition. In history books, you get a lot of credit for going first. And then the other one, which Mitchell mentioned also, is being the face. Again, is Carl Sagan the best scientist in the world? So he's not really Kensei. Is he the?
He's a good scientist. I mean, he's very
He's a good
smart.
scientist. Yeah, I'm not dissing him, but as far as like how famous his name is, if you talk about the amount of weight his name carries,
Yes.
it doesn't really line up with him being a discoverer or a Kensei.
No, exactly. Not compared to the quality of his scientific work compared to like the ad serves.
Yeah, it's not even that he's even a popularizer. He just brought this kind of charisma and this kind of energy.
Like a
This kind of
spiritual way
vision.
to science that made
Well,
people want to do it.
Actually, that's a really good point, Glenn, as far as being the face, because face can seem superficial, and sometimes it can be, and now you should watch out for that. But there is actually a very positive thing about being the face or the go-to person, which is making it a thing. Because actually, most of the stuff that Carl Sagan was talking about was already known by a whole bunch of ad servers around the world. This wasn't news to them. They knew this already, but the world didn't. And so it technically had already been discovered, but he needed to, it needed to be like, this is a thing. The voice, the music, the way he did the Cosmos series. It's like, this is important. People are like, hey, this is important. Like, it was already there, and there's a bunch of ad servers already like, obviously it's important. This is what I do for my life. But the world did not recognize this is a big deal. So Naiji liked to be in that role.
Yeah, marketing is really good.
What's that?
It sounds a lot like marketing in a way, right? I mean, it just sort of like kind of putting a sort of
marketing's the way of putting it. You see the Vaiji as a correlate are very much into marketing.
Oh, yeah.
With the Naiji, I think the angle, although obviously there is Jess Hunter, so they're very much related, but I think with the Naiji, it's more of
an original thing. No one ever did it before.
Yeah, no one ever did it, and as a part of that, very often related, is because I guess technically in the case of like Carl Sagan, there were people who already knew it in a way, but taking an unpopular or unsung cause. Vaiji tend to take products that are well-made products in general and then making them more popular, pushing that leverage. It already starts with it's a product, but the Naiju often be like they'll make it a product and things that people are resistant to, like kind of like, don't we already have Buddhism? Don't we already have Christianity, atheism? Do we really need science as a religion? He's like, yeah, I think we do. I think the world needs that. So kind of like this is what Nye does, kind of like muscling in a previously unpositioned item onto the table. Vaiji tend to take items that are on the table already and improve their positioning. They're the best at that, really, taking an already existing piece and then moving it into a better place. But Naiji rocket actually like, new piece on the board. There you go. Everyone pay attention.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And the Jinai share this as well. I think they tend to enjoy more the interaction back and forth, but they also like being the face. The difference is Naiji tend to like to be known more by reputation, so being written up in articles or mentioned in history books counts more for us. And if too many people talk to us on the street, sometimes we'll like hide in our room. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be famous, but I don't want to talk to a bunch of people. Jinai actually like talking to a whole bunch of people. They get a feed off of each of the counters having the G first.
Yeah. Naiji like to be known by the reputation. Like their name is kind of like on people's lips and in other people's heads.
Almost so they don't have to do the talking.
Yeah, they don't need to do the talking. They just have that air about them. Like people
or they
know.
do the talking, but they tend to do it in more monologue style, like Sagan, for example, in the Cosmos series, in various books he wrote, and like that's my pitch. But Jinai I think are the best as far as like taking Nai and like shepherding it to a person, watching their reaction and their pushback, and then giving them the next piece. And kind of like walking them through it. Naiji sometimes can get uncomfortable and impatient doing that.
Yeah.
The better our G is, the better we are at that, but it's not major momentum. So sometimes if a person needs more hand-holding or just being there more can be challenging for us sometimes.
And with regard to the recent purification, it seems like the Vaiji are starting to get more and more into like the science and atheism thing. Like before it was more like Carl Sagan, right? Gatsmal, but now we have like Sam Harris.
I think it's because the Vaiji, they're looking at these things as sort of like already pieces that are on the board, and now they want to improve upon them even further.
Exactly,
right?
that's what they're doing. They're kind of like refining it.
They're refining and making it better.
I think this generation that probably like say that you just mentioned, Mitchell. I think they grew up in an era that it was fairly new, but there was lots of books and evidence and media saying this is what smart people think.
Yeah.
And then they were surrounded by that, and other than other stuff, and give Vaiji the credit, they take whatever they can see around them. They're more literal that way, but they can see this is best practice. This is standards of excellence, and that's what you go with. It's very admirable. I didn't give them enough credit for what it is they could see, which is why I missed those samples. I just didn't give enough credit. One, that they could have such cool knee, but also that Vi is very honorable. If it sees what it sees, it'll take an unpopular cause. Now, we're obviously being Turk, sometimes we're like, you're taking a cause that has clearly been shown to be stupid and staying with it. But that's not what Vi just does heroically. Heroically, it just takes what it needs to be the best. Now, it needs to be given evidence. It has to be given verifiable data to work with. But if it's given good data, then it rocks. I've been very, very impressed more and more, the more I learn about the Baiji, I'm really happy to expand my understanding of them because they're very impressive.
Yeah. I
They're very into like fitness, like that has been doing. I wonder if like at one point that was more Naichi, like way back.
Well, I'm sure. For example, like you take various like diet trends, like in fitness, like when it comes to like being experts on that, a lot of times, me and Glenn knows it's Baiji. You know what I mean? Because they have a medical background, nutritional background, and so forth. But how'd that get on the board if it wasn't a thing? Somebody, and Naiji are the best. That's why we do, the psychedelic experiences and the extreme sports and so forth. They're like, I'll try it. Kind of like in a paleo diet. Before the paleo diet got tested and was proven to actually have some merits, some Naiji's like, I think I'm like a caveman. I'm going to eat like a caveman. And some Naiji died doing that, and another Naiji it actually worked. And over time, Baiji are like, interesting. I think a lot of times they use us as data points, and then the Naiji stuff actually works out. They're like, okay,
yeah,
that's something there.
You can make it work, sure.
Maybe even like some medical pioneers.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, because from the first people to do that might have been Naichi. Maybe I won't know for sure, but
I just wanna know, guys. Are we still gonna be doing the other thing, or?
No, not tonight. I figured we'd wait till next time. Ben, this has been a really great conversation too.
Yeah, it has.
But on that kind of as far as like the Nai-G, and actually the G9 too, also having Nai as momentum, is you get credit for swinging. If you're Durham, obviously you want to do the slam dunk, LeBron James style, and be like, whoa, that person's a superhero. But if you do like a 380-degree turn flip up in the air and you miss, in Durham world, you still get credit for having the balls, or whatever you want to call it, to actually try that at the highest level on national television. Now, obviously, probably a lot of literals are like, why would you do that? You made a fool of yourself. And obviously, the Durhams want to succeed. But Durham to Durham and Durham to Adram, there is respect to someone who would actually even think to do that. They would actually try to do a move like that at such a high level. Because you're like, why take the risk? And Durham's like, because life's there to be tackled. And tackled big. You know what I mean?
It's inspiring. It's just inspiring to the NES channel to see something
go
different
big or go home.
done.
Indeed. And how are you going to find out what a human can do if you don't try something new and not just try it lightly? You go for it.
Yeah. Do it, and then you do it with the intention that you're going to be able to pull it off. And you do as much as you can to master it as much as you can, and you try to do it, and then even if you fail, it's sort of like, well, people can see the merit of you wanting to even attempt that.
Yeah, and obviously the Durham wants to actually be the one to do it. But even if you try it and you get partway there, and the next thing on Saturday, there's a dozen other people who are trying it, and someone actually get it, even before you, it still feels good to you, and you still get credit that you made this a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because no one's trying to do a 720 until you tried it.
Yeah, even if people don't even acknowledge you, they don't even recognize you as the one that started doing that. It still feels good to you and your spirits, knowing that, you know what, I did something to people's brains. I made a connection that they're not even aware of that's causing them to want to do that. But they don't know that that's happening, but it's happening, and I'm responsible for that, and you feel good about that.
For sure. And when Swagman was telling me, it comes up a lot. You'll see, for example, with Gina in movies. Obviously, Gina are badasses, so a lot of times they just win when other people win. But something else they can do, which is even in a way even more heroic, is they'll take on a fight because their code of conduct says this is messed up. This is messed up. And Manai's like, I don't imagine a world like that. The world I have isn't like that, so I can't go with that. So they fight. And a lot of times they win, but sometimes they lose. But even when they lose, they will inspire the rest of the tribe to take up arms against something that shouldn't be that way, because they were impressed at the bravery that was shown, and they feel a lack. They're like, when they are so impressed by the bravery shown there, it makes them feel a lack of bravery, and they wish they had it. And you'll find other people start fighting back more. So you can fight sometimes and lose immediately, but actually you win in the long run.
Yeah, I think that gets into a lot of stories where, there was just something that was the way that things, the way that everyone did something, but then the Jinai kind of was like, well, there's Xi, and they're like, no, that's not right, and then they
That's
kind of
not
fought
right.
against it. Yeah, and then that caused people to start to put that into question.
Exactly, it leaves a big impression, and it emboldens them to try it themselves. All right, we have to get going here. But one last thing I'll mention on that as well, Najee and I, is you'll see that in, for example, like mixed martial arts, is some of the most popular fighters out there, Najee and they're badasses. They win a lot. They're also champions a lot. But there's some of them that aren't necessarily champions. They're still some of the most loved, most popular, and make money because of the way they fight. When they go out, they don't actually fight timid. They don't actually fight to just squeak out a victory. They go out there to put on a show. And so they put on a show. Sometimes they may lose, but the fans love them. They love the fact they came to represent, like, you mean just take it all out and pour it out, leave nothing left over. They take their whole heart and pour it all over the ring. People are like, wow. It's an experience. It's a very moving experience to see a human do that.
Yeah,
So,
that's cool.
indeed. All right, that's 7:30. That was a wonderful session. I will see you guys next time. Oh, Thursday, I think Ben's here, so we'll take a hiatus this Thursday.
Yes, okay, cool.
Because I figure we need
Yeah,
to
he's still on vacation, right?
Yeah, because he's kind of like a go-to person to tell us what pieces are going where. All right, have a wonderful evening. Good stuff.
All right, see you.